Alright, we're going to start over here with the males. This is the backup male. You know, if these two turn out to be less stable than anticipated, it's doing pretty good. This one is the one that had that pungent fruit when I was getting into flower. So, you know, it's come back quite well. This one came back a little bit slower, but it's the one that smells, you know, the best. But I mean, that vigor, right? Like, hard to deny it. But we'll give it another week and we'll see. I'm not going to get rid of any of them. Not going to get rid of any of them. Just, you know, making observations at the moment. The other males in the room are this one here. It's got a few balls on it still. I'll have to get rid of those. You know, there's more balls on it, but I'm going to wait for it to branch a little bit further before getting rid of them. Then there's this male, which is doing good as well. I mean, to be expected with males, they're much hardier. These are the split branch ones. Everything seems to be vegging quite good. You see a little bit of trichrome structure still, so that's why they're not quite in veg yet. You know, for all those people that were saying there's no trichromes or terps yet, like, I don't know. Looks like something's starting to develop, but it'll stop here soon. And it's not on every plant. Like, y'all gotta stop growing just one seed and then cloning it for decades until you're saying you're experts here. I'm not an expert. I've just grown 10,000 seeds. So I know how much variety can come from one cross. Oh, that one's stinking. That one's still stinking. The platinum turple. But these got quite far into flower, and they're resisting re-veg. That's something to note. Guys, it's just me hitting the fan blades. But this one's going crazy. Trying not to show you my feet in the video here. Now, if I'm being totally honest, out of all of these, I'm liking the Scleranthus the most. They've been the easiest, you know? The absolute easiest. But that can change because, you know, as things get far into flower, when that happens, the smells develop just way more, right? What I've got is basically some stem rubs and a ballpark idea of what to expect. And for my genetic, I've grown enough to know what to expect. For these guys, I'm just throwing a ballpark idea out there because I've never grown these before, so I don't know. Okay? If you've never grown something before, you can't actually know what it's going to do. Especially if you grow 10 seeds and then choose a mother and never grow another seed. You're always going to get the same thing. So that's not going to teach you. I think everyone should do their own pheno hunts at home, regardless. Like, and this is not powdery mildew, it's just leftover diatomaceous earth, right? New growth is all looking good on, I mean, like, across the board, the new growth is looking pretty decent already. So it's just gonna have to be a after flower from here on out for making any level of selection. I'm definitely taking notes as to which ones are re-vegging faster, which ones look better, and you know, that sort of thing, but it's really just, it's going to take some time, right? So, oh, I gotta get over there. See, this is why I normally cut the video to walk, but I want to show you guys just how slow I move this time. Oh, look at that one. 43 and 84, like, they got, remember they topped early because they got hit by the fan, and look, you know, they're doing the best in the whole room basically. Other than that, what's that? 42. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's one of the split tops. That's getting kept anyway. And then there's this one, which is probably getting kept. You know, look how branchy that's going to be. And then that one, right? Look at that one. So they're starting to come around, as you can see. Also, if you actually watch the video and YouTube doesn't make the compression ratio ridiculous, you'll be able to see some of them have little crystalline profiles or structures starting to develop. Those are going to get abandoned by the plant once they're all the way into veg, but you'll see that in re-veg. Just a second, I gotta get past this fan again, and this way it's a lot harder than coming that way. Okay, maybe this will show it. You know, the little structures coming in. And it's not, again, it's not every plant that has that. It's just the ones that were the deepest into flower. So keep that in mind when anytime I say a smell, it's a stem rub, because they were a decent ways into, you know, first or second week of flower. So like smells start to develop on a lot of my plants at least. If you've got plants that don't start to develop smell for, you know, the first 2 weeks of flower, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's your plant. You found a plant that doesn't stink until late, which a lot of guys did back in the old days before, you know, during Prohibition, to try and hide the grow as much as they possibly could, right? But these days, especially in Canada, there's no prohibition really. There's heavy regulation, and a lot of it is foolish, but there's no real prohibition here. So I want that smell. I want that stank early, really, because I like it. So that's the long and the short of it. And the plants that stink early, at least in mine, I have found the plants that stink earlier flower faster. Don't know how accurate that is to every plant that exists, but to my own genetic, that's been a pretty common theme. I didn't pay attention, however, to actual flower time in the past, and I ended up getting a lot of plants that take 13 weeks to flower, 14 weeks to flower. I had one that took 18 weeks. It almost didn't finish. Like, I almost gave up on it, just cut it, but, you know, I just let it stay on the 12-12 and keep going and going and going. So hopefully in here I find one that's at least a 12-week or a 10-week. You know, if I could find an 8-week flower plant, that would be fantastic, but I'm not expecting it. So maybe these will give me the 8-weeker, but we'll see what happens. If you guys follow along, you'll see what happens. And there is some curling on these leaves, so some of them, I don't know, some of them have the two, I think it's two have the curls coming in on the new leaves. Those might get disqualified just because I don't like looking at them. And I've got plenty of phenos already picked out that I have to chase anyways, so I don't need to take the ugly plant that, you know, looks like that all the time. Here, I'll bend these back down. I bent them up so that the light could get past them easier. but they just look like that. And I don't care for that look. Now, if it comes out of it and it's just like due to stress, that's actually beneficial because it's the plant's dramatic. It's going to tell you when it's stressed. And those of you that have been following along since the beginning, you know these plants are tough as hell. So if they're if they got a flair for the dramatic, you know, but they're also tough as hell, that's pretty beneficial because then you know when the plant is stressed. And you can learn, over time, you can learn exactly what stress looks like what from each plant. So, there's a Sunday upload. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, y'all. See you Monday. There is the other stray. I call that one Kitty Kitty. K-I-D-D-E-Y. This is the front deck. That's the original stray. She's an old cat. But if I open the door, she'll take off. I feed her, but that's all I can do. Now back here I've got these new strays with the young stray. You know, they're starting to grow. Some of them are friendly and some of them aren't. You know, there's I forget what kind of citrus these are, but they're all citrus trees. None of them are lemon. They're all some type of orange or clementine, mandarin, I don't know. A couple of them are actually Pomelo grapefruits. So, there's that.